So two of the worst websites on the internet, worst designed websites of all time. The first one I want to show you is one of my favorites. This website right here, and I want you to tell me, what do you notice is terrible about this website? Lingscars.com. A very successful website, but tell me what you notice about this website that makes it look bad. Okay, it's ugly. There's a lot of things going on. I like that. What else? Tell me more. Too many ads. Too much going on. Can you even tell what's happening on this website? It looks like a spam page. Yes, absolutely. And actually, it's gotten better recently. It used to be even worse. They've made it a little bit better. They used to have an award on here for worst designed website of all time. But what's bad about this website? What's the most important thing that you notice that just doesn't look nice? Well, yeah, look at these links, the background. There's too many colors. There's not a particular style here. And so what you're going to notice about web design and web development is that it's important to pick a particular style and to do it very nicely. And so I want to give you here an example of taking this website right here, this Starbuzz coffee website, and bam, and turning it into this. Now I want you to tell me, what are the differences between the original Starbuzz coffee website, this one right here, a coffee website, and this one right here? What has changed from those two examples? The format looks nicer. It makes you want to go there. The font looks better. Tell me more, I like this. The pictures look nicer. Why? Yeah, it's sketchy, they'll spit in your coffee. Ugh, I don't want that. And this one, you'll notice that the pictures and everything is more organized. I heard someone say that, organized. And the colors look a lot nicer, huh? There's not like 1,000 colors going on here. There's just like 3 colors. And that looks so much better, doesn't it? The question is, how do we do that? How do we make our websites look clean, nice, and organized? Well, we're going to talk about that in this lesson today. This is our Intro to Programming lesson, lesson 5. This is on web design and the box model. And so the learning objectives for today, the things we're going to learn, is you're going to use div tags, a new kind of HTML tag, a div tag, to separate different parts of an HTML page and make them look nicer. We're also going to learn a little bit more CSS about margin, border, and padding. And so there's some words you're going to need to know to understand a lot of this stuff today. And I've put them in this terminology takedown section right here. This terminology takedown is just for you to look at some of the words that are going to come up during this lesson and not to be scared, because some of them are going to be kind of confusing, and we'll go over them bit by bit. Is that cool with everybody? Perfect. A quick little refresher from last class. Last class we learned about HTML tags in 0.4. HTML tags, which look a little bit like this, where we have a tag name, some content that goes inside it, and a closing tag name. And by doing that, we can create HTML elements that make things appear on the page. We can also add attributes to things, like an image tag has an attribute for source, src equals. Attributes like that can give things pieces of information so that they can look really nice. I've created this little anatomy of an HTML element here. There's a link that I'm going to put in our Slack channel. So in the Slack channel, I'm adding this link in here. Pop this link open. It's another CodePen page. I want you to take a look at this CodePen page that I actually copied from somebody else and styled it a little more to my liking. And what you'll see here is you'll see a single HTML element that you can hover and click on different pieces of the HTML element, and it'll tell you all about it. What you'll notice is that this full thing, the whole thing, is called an HTML element. The opening tag is this part right here that has the opening caret, whatever the title is. This is a P tag. It has a little attribute in it right there. The closing tag is this side on the right. It has a little slash. That is the difference between them. The content is what goes inside the tags and what actually appears on the web page. And an attribute is a piece of information we are putting inside the tag so the tag can do nice things. If you ever get confused, come back to this, because this is basically what HTML is. And so how do we make the HTML do stuff? Well, I'm going to go to my dashboard really quickly, and I'm going to create a new pen in HTML. And in this HTML pen, I'm going to put an H1. This H1 is going to say Aster's profile page. And you'll notice that it actually appears on the page, like so. These tags right here are what create the backbone, the structure of every web page on the internet. This one, this H1 tag, has an opening H1 tag, the content, and a closing H1 tag. And that's what creates this text on the page. Now we also have something called CSS. CSS is used to style things, to make things look nice, to give them particular styles. So some styles here, this is how CSS works. CSS works by creating a selector. You select something on the page. You give it a property like color and a value like black or red or white. The way we would do that here is we'd go into the CSS and we would select something on our page. I'm going to select this H1. I'm going to say H1. We selected it. We use these little squigglies, and I say I want its color to be red. And you'll notice that now the color of the H1 is red. And that is how we style things on an HTML page. You select it with this selector, use the open and closing squigglies, and then you use these attributes here to give it a style. In this case, we're telling its color to be red. You can choose any color here, Dodger blue, pink, orange, doesn't matter. Rainbow, that's a little tougher. You would use something called a linear gradient. We can talk a little bit more about how to do that later. That's an advanced thing, but you can do it technically. CSS, by the way, CSS is frustrating. It's going to be a little confusing. But that's just a refresher, because today we're going to learn about something new. We're going to go a little more advanced into HTML and CSS. So y'all ready for this? So let's talk a little bit more about the fundamentals of HTML and CSS. You guys can put your laptops at 45 degrees for a second. You won't need them as of right now. Now the first thing we're going to talk about is you'll notice that up here I have some picture frames on the board. In my picture frames, I have a picture of myself. Does everyone see that picture of me? Dang, I look good. That's from 2012. That's from like what? 6 years ago? Crazy to think about it. This is my 8th year teaching. It blows my mind sometimes. I feel like an old man. I have some gray hairs now. It's wild. But I like it. Now you can think of every single element on an HTML page as sort of like a box. Or like a picture frame like this. And there's 3 ways to space things out or move things around on a page. To do that, we're going to use something here. And to do this, I'm going to zoom in on this particular picture frame with my picture in it. Every single thing on an HTML page kind of works like this, like a picture in a picture frame. The picture itself is the content. It's what goes inside the element. This is the content. Directly around the content, we have something called padding. Right around that, we have something called the border. And around the border, we have the margin. Now, the way you could think about each one of these things is this. The content is what goes inside the box. The border surrounds the box, and the padding is the space between the content and the border. And then right outside that is something called the margin. And the margin separates other things from each other. So if you have a bunch of pictures, if you want to move them away from each other, you would use margin. If you want to add a border to a picture and put some space in between that, you would use padding. And everything else goes on the inside. This is called the box model. And it works like this. This is how everything on an HTML page is laid out. It's laid out and known as something called the box model, which means there's content, padding, border, and margin. And so I've added a little code pen for you that you can play around with if you want to understand how it works. This is another code pen that I stole from somebody. That is an excellent example of how the box model works. And so I'm going to drop this in the Slack channel as well. We're going to get to it in a minute, so don't worry. But it just teaches you all the things you need to know about the box model. But before we do that, I'm actually just going to get started on building something with you so you can see how that works. Is that cool? So I just want you to copy and code along with me really quickly. And we're going to go ahead and build out a website again for ourselves, starting from ground zero. You all ready for this? Go ahead and open up your laptops and open up a new code pen. I'm going to call this period 3 profile page. And everyone else should open it as well. And I'm going to save this video really quickly. And I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to show you how to style and lay out your page so that it looks like more professional. Sound good? Sounds good.